All right. Says we're live. It wasn't connecting at first, so I'm a little bit late. I have an excuse this time. Something with the stream code, but I think we are good to go. So if you guys can hear me, let me know. I'm kind of looking forward to the race today. I don't know. It's just kind of a weird week without practice and qualifying. We have a threat of weather later on in the race. Will we get the full race in? Not exactly sure. I guess there's a chance of tornadoes, strong storms around 4 to like nighttime there. So we'll see what happens. Loud and clear from Andre. That's how we know we are good to go. Interesting slate. Obviously, we don't know exactly how fast these cars are going to be. Like, yes, we have a good idea who's going to be faster. Like, on paper, Christopher Bell should be dominant today, but you never know. You might completely miss something. They didn't even really turn a lap in practice, the 5 minutes we had. So it's a bit of a guessing game today. So I'd recommend to you all, maybe play a little bit lighter than normal. Or spread out your exposure a little bit more because we don't exactly know who is probably going to be the best cars or not. Like I said, we can have a good idea, but it'll be interesting. So obviously, like I said, no practice, no real qualifying. This was set by the metric. And that's what we're dealing with here. I don't really think any of my thoughts have changed since yesterday's video, for those of you that watched it, which hopefully most of you did. I did slander Kyle Busch pretty hard, which, you know, he's probably deserved it. But once I ran projections, he actually doesn't look that bad. Like, he is cheap. He's $7,700. I don't think he's going to be like a top 10 car today. But I got him projected to finish just inside the top 20, and honestly, that's not bad at his price point. So if you are playing cash games today, Kyle Busch does look like a very strong option. But that's not to say in tournaments, there's not a lot of good pivots. And you have Chris Buescher, but Wallace, who I like a lot today, Chase Briscoe, Cindric. So excellent cash game play, but there's definitely other ways you can go in GPPs. Because he will be high owned today. I have him top 3 in ownership. Honestly, wouldn't surprise me if he is the highest owned driver. I think he'll be competing with guys like Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, and probably Chase Elliott as far as being the highest owned drivers today. All right. And just kind of like a recap here, like the guys that are projecting the best for me that I'll be building around today: Christopher Bell, Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott on DraftKings. That's like the trio that's projecting the best in the 9K up range. Also, looks like we're going to be getting a decent amount of Kyle Busch, just kind of have to at the price point, like Bo Wallace, Chase Briscoe. And then down low, Priest, Eric Jones, and Austin Cindric are looking pretty good too. Obviously, there's other guys we can get to in tournaments. I'll answer those questions. I don't want to go over the entire slate just yet. All right. Got another from Chris Jenkins. As always, I do appreciate that. He says, how many Dom builds and who were your top Doms? Yeah, I think today you're going to want 2 to 3 Doms. I know there is obviously a big question mark on who's going to have the speed today, but you're still going to need at least 2 Doms per lineup. And some of them do offer some place differential, so it's not like you're just completely stacking the front. Like Kyle Larson could be a Dom today. He's starting 19th. Denny Hamlin could be a Dom today. He is starting in 14th. The guys that I have the top 5 percentage of being the top Dominator today are going to be Christopher Bell, number 1 for me, then Chase Elliott, Ryan Blaney, Martin Truex, and Denny Hamlin. That's my top 5 as being potential Dominators. I would say the entire list would be Bell, Hamlin, Truex, Blaney, Larson, Logano, Byron, Elliott. And it's pretty much the main Dom group there. And I want at least 2 of those drivers per build. What's up, Sean? First one here says, what is the optimal DraftKings and FanDuel lineup? Thank you. So I'm optimal on FanDuel right now. I believe is Denny Hamlin, Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, Kyle Busch, Austin Cindric. Not sure if I'm going to play that yet. I'm going to have to speed build. I know FanDuel locks at 2 today. And starting the line stream at 12:40, the timing doesn't look that great for me. So maybe I'll have to end this early depending on how many questions we get. And over on DraftKings, we are looking at the optimal being Bell, Larson, Elliott, Busch, Priest, and Zane Smith. Kind of gross. Second one looks a little bit better with Eric Jones being the bottom piece instead of Zane Smith, Jones, Priest, Briscoe, Elliott, Larson, Bell. But just a difference of decimal points. I'm not even sure what's different there. I guess the one has Kyle Busch, the other one doesn't. Top 5 at drivers, 2 in the race as Daniel. I have the top 5 being Christopher Bell, Truex, Elliott, Blaney, and Kyle Larson today. But like I said, bit of a guessing game since we did not have practice in qualifying. But I would say not having Bell as the favorite today wouldn't make sense to me because everything on paper says he should have the best car based off of what we've seen so far this year. He was incredible at Phoenix. He was really strong at Richmond, started in the back in that race. Started in the rear last week with a backup car at Iowa and was really good. Ended up in the top 5. And Gateway would have won Gateway, but ends up having the issue. So why wouldn't Bell be good today? I don't know. Maybe they missed on a setup. Something crazy can happen, but just based off what we've seen this year, there's no reason to believe Bell won't be good. If he's not good, I don't know what to say. I don't know what data point you'd be looking at. Michael says, I wonder if he knows the race was moved up in time. Yeah, we went from what, 2:30 to 2. So kind of need those extra 30 minutes, unfortunately. What's up, Johnny T? Says, what are your favorite cash plays over at FanDuel? I need to absolutely build around. Thanks again, as always. No problem, Johnny T. Yeah, if you are playing cash on FanDuel today, Kyle Larson's the starting point. Kyle Larson's too cheap this week. He's 10K on DraftKings. He is 12.5 on FanDuel. Why is he so cheap? I mean, I guess I get it, because Bell probably should be the most expensive driver here at New Hampshire. Then, based off of what Truex has done here at New Hampshire the next center, I get it. But I still think it's too cheap. 19th, I think you got to play him in cash games. Also think Kyle Busch on FanDuel. Like I said, it is gross. It's an RCR car. It's Kyle Busch at a short flat track, and in the next scenario, it's not going to be pretty, but if you are playing cash games, he should be high enough to where it doesn't matter. And if he lucks his way into a 12th place finish, you're going to want him. So I'd say Kyle Busch, Kyle Larson would be the cash game plays over there. And then I'd want either Hamlin or Bell probably as my second big name driver. Because you might not be able to afford Truex at 14,000. What's up, spread? Anthony says pump plays under 7K on DraftKings for a single entry. Yeah, under 7K, there's not too many options for me this week. I would say the pool would be McDowell, Priest, and Eric Jones. And Eric Jones, I believe, is the one who projects the best of that bunch. Actually, no, that's Ryan Priest. Yeah, so if you had the money for Priest, I'd prefer him starting in 31st. What's up, Ewok? Oh, I already know it's going to be a Josh Bilicki thing. So did you know that both Josh Bilicki's hometown of Menominee Falls, Wisconsin, and Loudon, New Hampshire, where today's race both fall in the 43rd parallel north circle of that. You get better every week. Honestly, that's impressive. A bit of a tongue twister there in the name, but I'll give you the, I mean, you gotta be the only person in the world doing that hard on research of Josh Bilicki, so I'll respect it. I think we need to tell him about you. You might think you're a little bit weird, but you know, this is what it is. Michael says the race was moved up 1.5 hours. Now, I believe it was 2:30 start time. I believe it's just about 30 minutes. Usually we're at 3:30. Denny says, can your boy Blenny go back to back and DK have 2 spots to fill with 12.5K? Who you taking? Thanks for all you do. Appreciate that, Denny. Yeah, I mean, he could go back to back. I don't think it's likely today. I do think there's just other guys that are better here at New Hampshire. Christopher Bell, Martin Truex Jr., and obviously Larson, Hamlin. Those guys will be threats. I don't think he's going to go back to back this week. It was awesome last weekend. And obviously, Blaney was amazing, but I mean, let's be honest. Kyle Larson wins the race if he doesn't get wrecked. So if you have 12.5K left, who you taking? So that's what, 60, 250 each. Well, you got to get some cheap guys. So it's like an Eric Jones, and then I don't know, Ryan. I don't know off the top of my head if Ryan Priest would fit with that, but I'd say Jones and Priest would be good round outs right there for the pump plays. What's up, Mundo? Who are your best Doms and PD drivers for this race? Went over that, but I mean, I would say Christopher Bell should be the top Dom. Truex is up there. Chase Elliott, Larson, Hamlin. Like those are kind of the guys you're building around today. And then the PD drivers, it's pretty clear cut. It's Kyle Busch would be number 1. Austin Cindric, Chase Briscoe, and then some of the cheap guys like Eric Jones and Ryan Priest. Cindric would make sense too. But definitely some good pivots around there. I think Bubba Wallace is a really good pivot option off of Kyle Busch today. Like you can play both together, obviously, but if you're just trying to get specifically off that Kyle Busch ownership, I think Bubba Wallace makes a lot of sense. I believe he finished 3rd or 4th in 2022, and then last year I think he finished 8th, something like that. And they weren't lucky finishes. His average running position, I believe, was in the top 4, like overall, at the first New Hampshire race. Then obviously he was pretty good too in the second one. Like he's ran well here. Now he has that good track position in each race. I think he started 3rd or 4th in the one, and then 8th in the other. So starting at 17th. But it's not like he earned this poor starting spot. It's just how the metric was. And he obviously hasn't been that great this year. But I think Bubba Wallace makes a lot of sense for a pivot in tournaments. Really cheap this week on both sides too. And you'd have to imagine Toyota should have speed today. White Owl wants to know better finish between Blaney versus Keselowski. I'd have Blaney in that one. Elliott versus Hamlin. I think I actually have Hamlin Nope, I have Elliott. Like just a couple decimal points higher. And then Barry versus Stenhouse, I would have Barry. Yeah, no problem. And Bell and Truex, I do have Bell, but it's very close. What's up, Mom? Says hi, buddy. Hi, NASCAR fan. Good luck to you all. And let's get it, Joey. Joey could certainly be a contender today. He'll be under the radar. Just a weird price point for him. He's always $10,000. Feels like he shouldn't be that expensive. But yes, hello to you as well, Mom. Thank you for stopping by. What's up, Chris? He says, Cash, I have Bell, Larson, Gregson, and Eric Jones. Last two, Kyle Busch and Bubba, or Gibbs and Cindric. I would go with Kyle Busch and Bubba there. I just think the Kyle Busch ownership will be crazy. And if he sucks, probably won't matter in cash games. And if he does well, you're definitely going to need him. So I would say just eat Kyle Busch, chalk, and cash. Do I think Kyle Busch will move up today? Yeah, I would say he moves up. Now, do I think he's going to have top level speed? Definitely not. But I do think he can kind of limp his way to a 15th to 20th place finish. And normally we usually see him start further up, so we don't really have much interest. But starting in 30th at that price point, like, it's all right. I got him finishing 16.99 today, just kind of below where the market has him. I have Bowman, who has worse odds, projected to finish higher than him. But I think that's kind of a fair spot for him to be in by the end of the day. Now, there's a chance he just sucks today and goes a lap down early on, but we'll see. Because there's not going to be a competition caution. I thought there would be, but I guess since we got a couple laps in practice, they figured it was good enough. That could hurt, some of the PD plays, if they have an issue where they just completely miss the setup like Hamlin last week and you go a lap down early on. That's possible. Bell and Briscoe or Buescher and Larson. I'll go with Bell and Briscoe there. Love both of those guys at a track like this. Max wants to know thoughts on Bell, Cindric, Larson, Elliott, Haley, Priest for a tournament. It's good. It's a little chalky, which I don't really care too much about because you do have Justin Haley. Like, if you're playing tournaments, I know some people just try to get way too contrarian, but at some point, sometimes you're just building stupid lineups. Like, it's fine to play chalk. If you just have like one pivot in there, it can make you different. Like, if you're playing a single entry, you don't have to go like absolutely bananas with your build and just fade all the good plays for the sake of being different because you don't want to be a chalk eater. Like, you can 100% play chalk, but you just have a pivot or two in there, like a Justin Haley, instead of one of the chalkier options down there, that's totally fine. A lot of the best players out there, they play mainly chalk. Like, if you look at Mock's lineups all the time, especially in single entry, it's not like he's playing low-owned plays. So I don't think you have to get crazy or anything. Like, it's fine to play chalk in tournaments, especially if it's like a single entry, but if you just have like one pivot, that's good enough. Manny says, hit the like on the way in. I agree. Helps me out. Jody says, stack in the front with Doms. Bell, Elliott, Byron, host of our Stenhouse and Barry. It's a little too far up for me. I'm not really a big fan of Stenhouse today. Host of ours, iffy. Barry, I can see. But yeah, I'm not huge on the Stenhouse train for where he is starting today. Dan says, who are the core plays on FanDuel? Favorite GPP pivot on FanDuel? My projections like Larson, Busch, Hamlin, the most on FanDuel today. I would say some of the best pivot options. I like Bubba Wallace at his price point. Just get directly off Kyle Busch. Same can be said for Chase Briscoe. And pivots off the big dogs up top. Not tough because I just really like them. But I don't think Truex will be too owned on FanDuel, so he could be a pivot option there. I don't think Brad Keselowski will have a lot of ownership. You do have the pole sitter at 10.5 and you can get Keselowski at 10. I think it's a pretty good pivot because you don't really need Brad Keselowski to dominate on FanDuel. You don't really need anyone to dominate on FanDuel. You just need the good finishers, which Brad Keselowski has been a menace at. What's up, Clint? Happy race day, y'all. Thoughts on me being double the field on Dennis and Keselowski? That's fine. I don't know if a lot of people are going to be worried from what they saw for Denny Hamlin last week, but he was riding the ship as the race went on. Obviously, they started out horrible. I don't know what happened. Just dropped straight to the back, got lapped. And then they started to find speed once the sun went down, it seemed like. I have like a whole thing up, and I just watched the lap times all race, and he was getting better longer in the run, and when sun went down, he was fine. Then he got his track position back, and he kind of creeped towards the top 5, gets taken out. I'm not going to be worried about it. I think Hamlin will be back to being pretty solid this weekend. And then I just kind of got done talking about Keselowski, but I do think he makes sense in tournaments today, just great at grabbing good finishes at these short flat tracks, and he's 6 for 6 top 10s at the 2 races in New Hampshire and the 4 races that I'm looking at this year. So hard to find someone that's been more consistent than Keselowski. I believe he has the best average finish in that data set as well. Pugsley says we are currently in a live stream weather delay. Please stand by. Yeah, something like that. Baseball going on, and it's early stream, so cut me some slack, I guess. Bell, Larson, Chase, Busher, Haley, LaJoy, and Turney's. I'm not big on LaJoy today. I don't personally love it in a single entry. LaJoy is starting in 26. I just don't really see much upside there. Like in this sample size, LaJoy's just been so awful at these track types. He has an average finish of 31.2, running position of 28th. Not a top 20 in there. It's just been brutal for Corey LaJoy. And if we expand this to a 16 race sample size of short flats in the next gen era, 29th average finish, 29th running position, 1 top 20 in 16 races. He's just been really bad. So he's not my favorite play today. Blaney back to back, maybe. Well, the percent chance I think he goes back to back would be 9.6%. That's what I have his chance to win today. Vegas has him winning 11.8%, so I'm a little bit lower than that. Hey, Chris, who do you have projected for top 5 in points? Bell, Larson, Hamlin, Truex, and Blaney. So all of the 10K guys. They're priced high for a reason. Those are my 5 highest. Jill says, possibly if a shortened race, should we fade Larson? Yeah, I'm glad someone brought that up. Because everyone always asks every time, like, what do we do with the rain shortened race? I don't really think it changes the way you build, because there's like 2 ways. Like, yes, there's less time for these drivers to get to the front, but at the same time, there's less laps for these guys to dominate. So it just evens out. I don't really think it matters either way. So I would just build normal. Plus, it looks like the rain wouldn't come in till like 4 or 5 p.m. based off of the Google weather. I'm not a weatherman. Obviously, something can pop up. I don't know. But I just think it evens out. So I would just build normal anyway. Like, yes, there's less laps for, say, Christopher Bell to lead. But at the same time, and then at the same time, there's less time for Larson to get up front. But I think by that point, like if Larson finishes 4th, like who cares? So I wouldn't change the way you build. Because I honestly don't know how you would change the way you build for a rain shortened race, because you don't know when the rain's coming and you don't know what's going to happen during the race anyway. So I would just build normal. I wouldn't worry about it. Whatever happens, happens. We just have no control over it. Appreciate that. Let's see. Zach says Truex course form versus recent form debate. Well, he's honestly been really good this year. I know he has kind of sucked at Charlotte. Weird race. And then last week, obviously, he was terrible in qualifying and practice, but he was actually not like the worst car in the world during the race. He moved up a little bit, ended up getting a really nice long run out of his, somehow was able to save enough gas. But other than that, like he has had some pretty strong runs at these short flat tracks. He was excellent at Phoenix early in the year, and then Richmond obviously crushed that race. So we've had some really good performances at these tracks and kind of some lackluster performances recently. So he's just a really tough guy to get right. Since we didn't have any practice in qualifying, I think leaning towards some track history is not a terrible idea this week. And who were the best guys at New Hampshire? It's Christopher Bell and Martin Truex. I believe Truex. I read an article somewhere. We've had 602 available laps to us previous 2 races here, and he has led 420, 440 some of those laps. Like he has been insanely good here at Richmond. So I think that's kind of what you lean towards. I like Truex today. It's just kind of a tough price point to get to. So when I can get to him, I will. But he's not my absolute first guy I'm plugging in my lineup. So I would kind of lean on that more so than him being lackluster at Iowa. And then I'm trying to think of the most recent race, Gateway. I forget what he did at Gateway, actually. I don't think it was the best race, if I remember correctly. Or if that might have been the race where he cut a tire. I'm trying to remember. I'm going to pull it up here in Racing Reference. I'm pretty sure something happened to him. Yeah, he finished 34. Okay. Yeah, he had that issue with the tire going down. He lost a couple laps. And he was really fast in that race, too. I remember early on. Then ended up at the end having to push Christopher Bell around the track. So he was good in that one. As long as my memory serves me right. But the finish result obviously didn't show it. Carly says, just roster Truex. I mean, I can't fault you for it. This is definitely his kind of track. What's up, Charles? Says, happy Sunday. Go, Joey Logano. Like I said, it's kind of I just wish Joey was cheaper. I do, but it wouldn't surprise me if he runs well. I just wish he was cheaper. Manu wants to know any weather concerns. Are you doing more balanced or stars and scrubs lineups? I mean, there's a concern for weather, but like I said, I just don't know how you'd build differently for it rather than just playing it normal. In stars and scrubs today, I think like 1 scrub in your lineup is fine. I don't really want to go past 2. It's not like we have 400 laps today. We do have 300, but I don't think you really need 2. Pricing isn't too bad overall. Keith wants to know any thoughts on DraftKings Pick 6. I've heard of it, but I've never looked at it before. So I mean, if you had like a specific question for it, I could kind of think of it, but I don't really know how the payouts work or really what any of the props are. So I'm probably not the best person to ask. I know Phil Race Sheets on Twitter posted one yesterday, and they had like a prop for Kyle Busch at 30.5 lap sled. I mean, that's terrible, obviously. So I don't know how it works over there. Obviously, that'd be an under, but I don't know. Maybe you could consult him on Twitter if you want to hit him up. What's up, Rick? We riding the Toyota train today? Can't fault you for that. I mean, Truex and Bell have definitely been the top dogs here. And then obviously you got Denny Hamlin, Gibbs, Reddick, Bubba Wallace. All those guys could be solid. Coach says I got to work on my attendance. You know, you're late when bosses are. Yeah, that's pretty bad. You're here after me. I mean, you're really late. Rob Dar wants to know best finish, Bubba or Barry. I have Barry finishing above Bubba today. Dan wants to know if I'm going to Game 7 tomorrow night. Go Cats, go. I'm assuming that's a hockey tweet. I did read that, I guess the Florida Panthers, is that the right name? They're facing Edmonton Oilers. I'm learning a little bit of hockey, and they were up 3-0, and it's now 3-3, so it'd be embarrassing, I guess, if we lost. But no, I'm not going to the game. Maybe I'll watch the end if someone says it's good, but I'm not a hockey fan. Ty Dillon an okay play today? I mean, he's not going to be fast. If he can just survive the race and there's carnage, he could gain a handful of spots, which is not bad at his price point. But based off of speed alone or anything, I don't think he's going to be good. But he is an option in the 5K range. I think Eric Jones is definitely the best option in the 5K range. And then after that, projection-wise, I have it Nemechek and then Ty Dillon. I just hate playing Nemechek personally. He spins every single week. For whatever reason. Darren says Jones, Priest, Briscoe, Larson, Bell, Elliott, okay for DraftKings for sure. I think that's like my 3rd highest projected lineup, Darren, and I do think it looks really good because Priest and Briscoe were going to short flats. Larson, Bell, Elliott's obviously awesome, and Jones is just cheap with place differential. What's up, John? Happy race day to you as well. Who do you have finishing better head to head? Blaney versus Keselowski, Bell versus Truex. Let me go one by one. So I'd have Blaney over Keselowski. I'd have Bell over Truex. I would have, I believe it's Hamlin over Elliott, and then Barry over Stenhouse. Man, the Barry and Stenhouse odds probably suck though. I do not like Todd Gillen today, Philip. He's just in such a weird spot for me. I'm just not going to get to him personally. Would it surprise me if he finished top 15? Not really, but I'm not banking on it. What are your thoughts on how Keselowski will perform today? I don't think he's going to be a dominant car by any means. He'll probably just stick around like 5th to 10th all day, and then depending on how the cards fall at the end, he'll finish either on the upper hand of that or the lower hand, but I think he just kind of sits around there all day. You never know. He could surprise some of these weeks. Keselowski's just excellent on long runs, and you see him rip to 2nd place. But I do think he'll be solid today. And I like him on FanDuel quite a bit. I still like him on DraftKings, but I think he's more of a FanDuel play. Barry or Bowman? I'll take Barry. Bowman projects awful for me this week. I have him down in the dumps for whatever reason. He just does not project well for me. I'm finishing around like 15th to 17th. Maybe that's way too low on him. I know where Vegas has him at. I'm a little bit higher actually because I think they have Busch with better odds than Bowman, but I have Bowman finishing higher than Busch. Well, when you're starting in 5th compared to 30th, it's a major difference there for DFS. Neil says, hi Chris, what's up Neil? Favorite driver between 8,500 and 9,000 for a DraftKings tournament? 85 and 9, so we're looking at Chastain, Gibbs, and Reddick. I believe I have Reddick projecting the best of that bunch. Take that back. I have Ty Gibbs projecting 0.4 better, so I guess I'd have to say Ty Gibbs. Very close, though. Candace says Busch will wreck. I would not be surprised. Busch wrecks or spins or has an issue on pit road or whatever it may be almost every single week. That's another downside if you're being too high on Kyle Busch, because I feel like something always happens to him, whether it's his fault or not. It's just He is a magnet for carnage in some capacity. What's up, Tevin? Says, who are the best punts? 6K for under 6K for DraftKings. Really, the only good punt would be Eric Jones. Other than that, you're just kind of spinning a wheel and hoping they finish the race. I would just say Eric Jones, really. Dave says, putting Larson Logano in a FanDuel GPP lineup a good idea, or should I play more drivers with lower starting position for moving up points? You mean like lower on the totem pole? Okay, yeah. No, that's perfectly fine. Like, I'm going to have lineups with multiple guys starting inside the top 10, so I wouldn't worry about that. When Larson starts 19th, Logano is in, 6th? Like, that's perfectly fine. Got dinner from a man spread. Appreciate that. Says, how's the biggest Blaney fan I know? Leader the Blaney. Stop sucking up. I know what you're doing. Spread left me out of the Blaney fan club in Discord, and I was a little upset with him. But he's been sucking up ever since. I do appreciate the dono. And good Warzone games last night. I know it was a couple, but it was fun. Hello, Miss Jules. Says, hi, handsome and NASCAR fam. Hello, beautiful. Happy Sunday and good luck, everyone. Appreciate it. We're going to need luck today because obviously with no practice and qualifying, we don't really know what we're doing. So, core plays for DraftKings. I'd be voting around Bell, Kyle Larson today. I love those guys up top. I just think Larson's too cheap and Bell is just too OP here at New Hampshire. Other than that, Bush, if it's cash games, I do like Webber Wallace and Chase Briscoe quite a bit as pivots off of him. And then if you're going cheap, Eric Jones, Ryan Preece, Austin Cindric, I think makes sense too. Best DK pick 6 plays. I have no idea about DK pick 6, guys. So I'm just really can't answer you. I have no idea about it. I'm not sure I want to know anything about it. So I mean, if you guys can give me like a specific question and tell me what the circumstances are or how the payout is, I'll try to answer, but I don't know anything about it. I think it's only illegal in a few states anyway. Keselowski or Chase? I'll take Chase. He's just obviously has a much better chance to dominate today and rack up some points. But those have been like 2 of the most consistent drivers. Holy Jack Daniels says Zane Smith top 20 incoming today. I don't know about top 20. If half the field wrecks, maybe. But even then, I'm not sure. But for him, he has an average finish of 28.5 in this data set, 27.8 for the running position. So it's not like he's getting unlucky. Pretty much on par. And a 6-race sample size, 27.7. So does have 2 top 20s. But I don't really think Zane Smith's going to get top 20 today. Raphael says, Bell, Larson, Elliott, Haley Berry, what are your thoughts? 5 drivers, so I'm assuming FanDuel. I don't love Haley on FanDuel today. I'm assuming that's what this is. But if it can get you Bell, Larson, Elliott, Berry, I mean, it's not bad. But for me personally, I try not to get to the scrubs down low on FanDuel. Lawrence says rain tires. So they will run in dry/damp conditions, but if it's raining out, they're not going to be running. Oh, it's kind of, I don't know. They're pretty underwhelming. I guess they fall off more. They started the rain tires in the Xfinity race yesterday, which is cool. Dried the track up pretty quick, then they got forced to move the slicks. Hocevar okay today? I mean, I got Hocevar optimal like around 13% of the time. If he comes in around 10%, like, yeah, that's a fine cheap play. But I'm over the moon about him. Last man in, Barry or Busher, DraftKings GP. Thanks, Chris. I would go with Busher. I think the RFK cars should be strong today. Logan says no competition caution, and it's lame. I wish there was. Fantrax lineup. I don't know how Fantrax scoring works, but he says Jones, Bell, Hamlin, Bush, and Gibbs. I don't know if there's like a salary cap. Like, if you can pick any driver, I wouldn't pick Jones today. But I don't know how the salary cap works or whatever you're trying to do. But I mean, Bell, Hamlin, Bush, Gibbs obviously is fine. I'm assuming PD has to have something with it because I think that'd probably be the only reason you're playing Bush today. Is Haley considered a scrub? I mean, not really, but kind of. You know, sometimes he's really good. There's been a couple races where he's just kind of hanging, but we're looking at his overall numbers this year. Like, I think Justin Haley's a very talented driver, but we're looking at his numbers this year. Running position of 24th, average finish of 20th. Like, he's fine. He's not like, he's definitely not Ty Dillon. He's not Kaz Growley. He's not those kind of guys. He's better than LaJoy, better than John Hunter Nemechek, better than Hemrick, better than Zane, like better than all those guys, for sure. So when I say scrub, I don't think he sucked, but I usually just like for FanDuel, I don't usually play those guys. On DraftKings, it makes a lot more sense. But yes, his price, like if you're priced low, I just automatically are going to pretty much call you a scrub. Does that make sense? Ryan says Chase Briscoe wins today. I don't know about that, but I will have Chase Briscoe lineups quite a bit today, so I would not be against him winning. And I do not have any bets this weekend. I just hate everything. Everything sucks. The odds suck. Belf's probably going to win, but you have to lay like plus 350 on it, so that's not fun. So I am passing on betting this weekend. Just going to take it off. Austin says Briscoe, Gregson, Cindric. Which two do you like? I would go Briscoe and Cindric between those three. Ogie says last time a team reversed up the finals was 1948. Is that just hockey? I know it hasn't happened in NBA. Race me to 2 p.m. That's correct. Is this then easier to win the ship? I sure hope so. As good as he's been this year, he's been good everywhere. Feels like the past few weeks have obviously been pretty lackluster, but that's going to happen. He's just been so good. The issue is, if Bell or Blaney make it to Phoenix, I don't know who's beating them. Obviously, Larson's good everywhere, and Hamlin's good everywhere. But I mean, if Bell makes it to Phoenix, based off of what we've seen so far this year, I don't know how he loses. He's just been insane. So we'll see. That's the only issue I have with like saying Denny might win the ship. I think he'll make the Final Four, but man, if Bell makes it to Phoenix, it might be GG for the field. Gibbs winning today or what? Oh, what's up, Zan? No, I don't think Ty Gibbs is winning today, unfortunately. He might run top 10, though. We'll see if he can make his way up. What's up, Steven? Says, hey, Chris, Loudon resident here. Oh, hopefully you can keep the weather away today. Who is the fastest when there's a tornado watch in the air? I don't know. It's a good question. I'll have to run the tornado sims and see what pops up. But hopefully you stay safe over there. I know there's tornadoes and strong storms, so hopefully not too bad. Lego says some of the pick six props are wild. Bell over under 10.5 laps led. Yeah, I'm going to, like, there's odds with that, right? Like, it's not just a regular prop. Like, I'm assuming it affects your payout, because I mean, that's just obviously insane. 10.5 laps led. So I'm assuming, like, I guess if there's odds like that, like, you're just kind of, I guess it'd be kind of like putting a parlay together. Like, that could be like minus 200 or whatever, but like the Kyle Busch prop at 30.5 was like minus 300, something like that. It's kind of like just a big parlay, I guess. That makes sense. Keith says, any thoughts on who grabs the lead at the start? Do you prefer Blaney or Elliott? Thanks for your help. I think it'll be Chase Elliott. Obviously, he's going to have the preferred whatever he wants to do. So I would assume Chase Elliott. But again, we didn't have practice in qualifying, so I don't know how fast these guys are. I think Chase is probably the easier choice there. De Palma says, rain is going to shorten the race. How does this affect your build? I mean, it might. There's rain coming in around like 4 or 5 p.m. potentially. Never a guarantee. But it does not change my build at all, because it evens out. Like, there's less time for these guys to get up front, but there's also less laps for these guys to lead. But who knows what happens? Like, who knows what kind of cautions happen? Who knows if the field gets flipped? I just don't think anyone has enough information beforehand to know, like, yes, this is how we should build. If it doesn't end up raining, I just don't really think it should change the way you build. I think it all evens out, so I would just build normally. I just don't even know how you'd really change your build for a rain-shortened race anyway. Because if we don't make it halfway, I mean, we gotta keep it running tomorrow, I guess. So if we make it halfway, I think that's enough time for these guys to make their moves closer to the front and things like that. So I don't know. I don't think it changes anything. What's up, Dave? Says, talk to me about the 8K drivers. Thoughts on Reddick and Bowman. My projections hate Bowman today. I do like Reddick a little bit. I think Reddick starting in 12th is interesting. I think he's finished top 10 here last year. He is decent at some of the other short flat tracks. And actually, if you look at a 6-race sample size here, he does have 4 top 10 finishes in 6 races at the 4 summer tracks this year and the 2 New Hampshire races in 2022 and 2023. So I think he'll be able to run top 10. But his price point, we're going to need some fast laps mixed in there. What to see, he's averaging 9 fast laps per race in the sample size. But I think my favorite 8K driver is probably Chris Buescher or Ty Gibbs. Those ones I'm flocking to. I'm probably just not going to have any Bowman today. Hopefully that doesn't hurt me. DFS Machine says, who you got winning stage 1? Love the show and subscribe, people. Appreciate that, DFS Machine. Well, I'm not 100% sure. If I had to pick, I would probably say Christopher Bell. I think he could get the lead later in stage 1. It'll probably be Chase Elliott leading early on, but we'll have to see what happens after that. But I do think Christopher Bell could probably grab the stage 1 lead by the end. But that's a tougher thing to kind of predict to happen. Bush or Bubba? Bush in cash games, Wallace in tournaments. But a lot of B's right there. But Bush projects better overall. Thoughts on Briscoe to JGR? Yeah, it's interesting. I wasn't really expecting that news. I thought maybe Gregson with the Bass Pro thing could make some sense to the 19. I thought maybe Corey Heim would make some sense. I was really hoping it wasn't John Hunter Nemechek, because he can't even control a legacy car. Hate to see him in the 19. So yeah, I mean, obviously Briscoe has shown that he has talent. He's won before, like legit wins. He won at Phoenix. He's got some short flat tracks. But I think once he gets in a good ride, we can see what kind of potential he actually has. So it'll be interesting to see early on next season. I don't know what his prices are going to be to start out. Like, we have Ty Gibbs and JGR, right? He's like in the 8 to 9K range most weeks. So we'll see what happens early on. But I don't know. I think he'll be really good at the short flat tracks. He already is at Stewart Haas. And then the 19's obviously been amazing at short flats now. So we'll see what Briscoe can do. Big Gutter says some of the pick 6 props are looking good. Chase 13.5 laps led. It seems too good to be true. Like, it's got to be odds based, I'm assuming, right? Because I mean, that's like just way too easy. Hoover says, any Bubba love? Yeah, I like Bubba today. He's been very good in New Hampshire in the next gen. Direct pivot off of Kyle Busch if you're trying not to eat all the chalk in the world. Rick says, any G love today? Hunter's a fanboy. Yeah, I like Briscoe better. I like Cindric better, so I'm having a harder time getting to too much Gregson. Because the 7K range, honestly, is pretty good. People are going to play Kyle Busch. People are going to play Briscoe, Cindric. And yeah, but Wallace and Noah Gregson right there, kind of in a weird spot. But I do like, I would say I like him the least of the 7K group. I can't play everybody there. Haley or Gilland, I'll go with Haley there. What's up, Ernest T? Says, hey Chris, hope you're having a great day. I hope you are as well. How many guys from the back you think we can realistically play? I mean, how many cars you think finishing lead lap? It's a good question. It just really depends on how green this goes near the end. Obviously, if this gets rain shortened, there'll probably be less. But you kind of piqued my interest on how many lap cars finished last year. So Truex absolutely crushed the field last year. But it looks like we had 27 cars finished in the lead lap still. And then I forget what the cautions were like at the end. So maybe there was a late one that all these guys got back in the lead lap at the end. And in 2022, we only had 13 guys on the lead lap. So we must have had a longer green flag run there. Yeah, it looks like we went green with like 90 laps to go in 2022. And then last year we had a caution with like 10 laps to go. So I'm going to assume that brought a lot of guys back in the lead lap. But I don't really remember exactly what happened. But I think you can play the place differential, guys. Like, obviously, there's a threat they can end up going a lap down. But if they're going a lap down, a lot of guys are going a lap down. They can still compete for positions. Hoover says, pick 6 is just against the book. Just depends on how many people hit on a payout. So it seems like it's kind of like the underdog in the prize picks arena stuff, which is the only thing you can do with Florida now because they got rid of the props because I guess since Hard Rock is open now. So it kind of sounds like that. But the props seem like weird. This pick 6 is simply you get it or you don't, but you have to basically get all 4 or 5 or 6 to win. No odds. It's interesting. It sounds like NASCAR is really soft over there if they're offering Chase Elliott a 10 lap sled, Kyle Busch at 30, or whatever it was, if I remember that correctly. So that's weird. Maybe it's soft for NASCAR. You guys can take advantage of that. Let me know how it goes next week. I don't know. We'll see. Jim says, hi, Chris. I have 28 drivers in my pool. Is that too many? And would you use Byron and Bowman today? That might be a little bit too much, Jim. I'd try to trim that down. Unless you're playing 150 lineups. But if you're playing like 20, I'd probably trim it down. I think you can use Byron today. But Bowman, I'm not a fan of. DPP, Chase, or Byron? Ownership-wise, it's Byron. But I still think Chase is a better play overall. I'd eat the ownership and get different elsewhere. Dave says, thanks, Chris. Appreciate that, Dave. Enjoy the race all and go USA and Copa today. Sounds like soccer, so I guess go USA and soccer. But appreciate you being here, Dave. Chalk today for FanDuel. Larson's going to be chalky. Kyle Busch will be very chalky. Cindric and Briscoe have decent ownership, and I think in single entries. And we'll probably see Denny Hale out there as well, starting in 14th. Christopher Bell. What's up, Sean? Says, hey, CP, Bell, Larson, Elliott. Love that. Barry and Jones. For FanDuel Cash, as always, appreciate what you do. I don't really like the Jones and Barry for FanDuel Cash, personally. Barry's more of the tournament play, and I don't really trust Jones on FanDuel much. Jones is a much better DraftKings play today, because you need those cheaper drivers. On FanDuel, you don't necessarily have to go that low. I think that the cheapest drivers you should be playing for FanDuel Cash are like Austin Cindric, Chase Briscoe types. Maybe even Kyle Busch, depending on how balanced you want to get. Who are the chalkiest drivers? I think Larson will be up there today. Kyle Busch, obviously. Christopher Bell. Who am I forgetting? Chase Elliott will be up there for sure. Probably the 4 of the 5-ish top chalkiest drivers. Byron, Busch, Briscoe, Elliott, Logano, and Haley for a DraftKings GPP. Logano and Haley will help you be different. Well, actually, it's a pretty different lineup overall because you're not playing Larson, you're not playing Bell. Elliott will be chalky, but Byron won't be that owned. Busch, Briscoe. Yeah, I think if you're just trying to get away from some ownership, it can work. I mean, would it be my first choice of a single entry build? Probably not, but. Dave says, Suarez just became a U.S. citizen. Will be fired up to go crazy today? I hope not. Last time he was fired up to go crazy, he took out Kyle Larson and Denny Hamlin, so I certainly hope he's not crazy today. But shout out to Suarez being a U.S. citizen. That's awesome. I saw the videos. He looked pretty happy. Thoughts on Priest? I like Priest at all these short flat tracks, so he is definitely in the pool. I think he's one of the best 6K plays today. Esgarsh1 says, hi. Hello. Best of luck today. My dad and I listen to you weekly. Kayla and Dad. Well, that's awesome. I'm glad you guys enjoy the show. Thank you for watching. I appreciate that. Shout out to you both. Michael says, NASCAR is new to Pick 6. Oh, maybe it's soft. I don't know. I don't think I can play it in Florida. I wish you guys the best on that, but it sounds soft from what I'm hearing, but I don't know exactly how it works. Peer-to-peer, so I split with everyone who wins. If you go with the lower payouts. Yeah, so it does sound like the Price Picks Arena and Underdog, I forget what it's called, like Legends or something. I don't know. Must be what it sounds like then. I'm sure they all copied each other. Briscoe, Hocevar, or Cindric, Priest, and Turney's. Other drivers are Bell, Larson, Elliott, and Justin Haley. I think I'd go Cindric, Priest there. I'm not the biggest fan of Hocevar, and I like both of the second options, so I'll go with them. Is Chase a must play? He's definitely not a must play because we don't know how fast he is. He inherited the pole, which track position's great. He's been good this year. Like I don't think he'll have too many issues, but there's a chance he's like a 7th place car today. Gets passed early on, so he's definitely not a must play. Thoughts on Hocevar? Same exact play every single week, it seems like. He qualifies 20th. He'll probably run around 20th. It's just a matter of how it shakes up after some cautions, whether he finishes 15th or 25th, really. It's the same play every week. I got him projected for 22.7 points, 3.6x, projected to finish on 21st, so I think he finishes right around where he runs. Is playing Gillen and Haley worth it? You have the 3 top guys. If you have the 3 top guys. For me personally, I think one of them would be fine. I don't really like both. Would I play Keselowski and Busch in the semi for DraftKings GPP? Both should do well today. I always think stacking RFK is not a bad idea. Obviously, I think Keselowski has more upside today, but I mean, usually if one's running very well, the other should be close to them, or if not right behind them. Rick says, CP, a little over 30 minutes to build. Thanks for what you do and see you in Discord. Appreciate that, Rick, for the heads up, because I have to build still. So I can't go too much longer, which I pretty much caught up to the chat, so that's good news. If you have any last second questions, get them in. Because I'm going to try to get out of here by 1:30, maybe before that. Chris says, thoughts on Austin Dillon? I think he's really bad. Today I have him for around 20 points. I'm not a big fan of him. C-Bell going to stink up the show. Very possible. I think he's, 3 for 3 or 4 for 4 in the Xfinity race, winning that. Obviously, Custer, I mean, he had the win, but couldn't hold off C-Bell on the restart. But yeah, Bell was extremely good here in New Hampshire. Would I be surprised if he leads 200 laps and wins the race? Absolutely not. Bell, Truex, Gibbs, Briscoe, Priest, Jones, too much chalk, 3 max, 88 tourney on the June bug. No, that's fine. Like, the June bug's one of those contests where you don't have to get like stupid contrarian in those contests. So Bell, Truex I like together. Gibbs, yeah, it's fine. What's up, Timothy? Favorite starts to cash build, your stands overall. Thanks again. Yeah, if you're playing cash today on DraftKings, I think Chase Elliott you're probably going to want just because he's got the clean air. He's been consistent this year. You can get a cheap potential Dominator. I would take that. And if you can fit in Bell and Larson with him, I would love it. And then you're going to want Kyle Busch in there too. And you should still be able to get some decent plays. You want 2 of Elliott, Larson, Bell. If you can fit in 3, great. But I think at the least you're going to want 2. And then Busch, then mix it in with like Eric Jones, Briscoe, Priest, Cindric, those kind of guys. I think that's how you really should go with cash today. Appreciate you, Dan. Yeah, Timothy, on the Patreon, I have the article going over like a cash down breakdown today. So if you open that up, you probably should lean you in the right direction. What's up, Tito? Just made it. Almost getting out of here. It says Truex will log out. Also, let's go Bell and let's do Briscoe. Yeah, no, not Briscoe. It's Tyler Reddick's your new favorite driver coming up. Could be a Truex or log out today. I don't know. He's just a very tough guy to get right. That is for sure. Rose says Bell, Larson, Elliott, Busch, Priest, or FanDuel. That's a good FanDuel build. I'm okay with Priest being the last guy there because I do think he has somewhat top 20 potential there. So that works for me. Like if you're on FanDuel, you need drivers that can pretty much all finish in the top 20. Like a 28th place is not going to cut it on FanDuel. You need some top 20 potential. That's why I don't usually play guys like Dillon, Gralla types. All right, but I think I caught up to the chat. So if you guys have nothing else to say, which I don't blame you because it's just a weird, boring week. Appreciate y'all hanging out with me. Appreciate the donos. I got to start building. I wish y'all the best of luck. Hopefully nothing stupid happens in the race, but it's always a possibility. Hopefully the rain stays away. See y'all next week for Nashville, which should be a good race.